Hi, everybody. Welcome to today's edition of the CrossFit Games Update Show. I'm Sean Woodland with Annie Sakamoto and Tommy Marquez. Final regional to break down for the individuals of the 2016 Reebok CrossFit Games is the Meridian. We'll start on the women's side, and assuming Sam Briggs makes it over to the United States to compete, you could make the argument that you have all three podium finishers in this group.
Yeah, I mean, you have two women that have won the CrossFit Games in that group and another that stood on the podium in her very first year. So it's hard to argue that this isn't one of the deepest women's fields that we've seen.
Definitely.
Yeah, this is the only regional that had not a single rookie qualify from the women's side of things. All five of them Games veterans, and they're led by Sara Sigmunsdottir, who is one of the favorites to stand on top of the podium this year. Annie Thorisdottir right behind her. So the regionals over there in Madrid, Spain, between Sara and Annie was basically like round one of a heavyweight prize fight. We get round two at the Games. What are you most excited to see take place between these two?
I'm excited to see the parity that we saw at regionals amongst them kind of play out across the entirety of the Games week. And I'm talking with more tests, more days, because that's really where Annie starts to shine. She becomes a monster the longer the competition goes. And it's actually the only place where we saw Sara falter last year. If you throw out 2015, the last 3 full years that Annie was at the Games, her average finish for the first half of the competition is 11.5. Then you look at her average finish on the back half of the competition, that drops to 3.6. Wow. You basically cut 2/3 off of that, and she becomes one of the best of the game the longer the competition goes. And Sara, she started the competition with 5 straight top 10s, and then 3 of her last 4 were outside of the top 10, including a 22nd place finish to round out the Games. And we could see some fireworks between these two in the full competition.
Yeah. Well, and then you add in the Cara Webbs, the Katrin Davidsdotters,
right,
the Camille LeBlanc-Bazanets, and I think the dynamic between the two now just grows, and we see what the weekend holds.
We still don't know if Sam Briggs is going to be able to make it into the United States to compete at the 2016 Reebok CrossFit Games. But let's say that she does. That makes everybody happy. But realistically, what can she expect to achieve if she makes it?
That's tough, Sean, because there's a lot of things that are going against her if she does make it to Carson. You're talking about no time to acclimate. You're probably traveling on short notice, which means your sleep's going to be messed up with the time difference as well. And then you're stepping into one of the most loaded fields ever at the CrossFit Games for the women. So I would think top 10, maybe top 5 is great for her. A podium finish would be out of this world. But unfortunately, it doesn't really look too good that she's going to make it. And this must be something with the even number of years. 2012, she's injured. 2014, she doesn't qualify. 2016, they won't even let her in the country. I mean, the one benefit, though, is that this could mean another year of competing as an individual for her. So I'm excited to see that if that's the case.
You have Turi Helgadottir and then Kristen Holte, who round out the top 5, and they kind of get lost because of the other 3 women who were in front of them. But how high do you think they can finish this year at the Games?
Well, Helgadottir does have some Games experience, albeit it was a 28th place last year, and then the time before that wasn't, it was 2012, and that was a 35th place finish. She did look great at the regionals this year. She was one of only 2 women that actually finished Regional Nate, and she actually had 5 event finishes 5th or better. So my hope is that this is actually her best year at the Games. Whereas Kristen Holte actually has had a very good track record at the Games. She was 17th in 2015 and 16th in 2014, so she's done quite well for herself. I'm excited to see Kristen in these kind of non-traditional CrossFit events as well, because that's where she really seems to shine. In the tests of athleticism that aren't with the barbells and so the sandbags and the sprint courses, Kristen does great in those.
Let's head over to the men's side, where it was Björn Carl Gudmundsson winning the regional. He is one of 3 vets who are going back to Carson for the CrossFit Games. The other 2 rookies are both from Switzerland. They're the first 2 men from Switzerland to make it to the Games. That's Lukas Eschlinger and Adrian Mundweiler. But Björn Carl Gudmundsson last year finishes 3rd. Looks like he has legitimately made a case for himself to win the thing this year. Yet, when you had that conversation, when you talk to people about who you think could win, he's usually not one of the first 5 names that comes out. So why are we overlooking this kid?
You know what? Primarily because he's an athlete for one reason or another that just doesn't demand the spotlight. And that's something that we see in sports where athletes that have a little bit of pizzazz or a little bit of flair to how they perform, people are drawn to that. Eyes are drawn to that. You know, social media following is drawn to that. But social media, to quote Pat Sherwood, social media following does not equate to fitness here. So he's a guy who keeps his head down and works hard, so he doesn't draw a lot of attention. And that's just fine by him, because that's exactly how he snuck up on us last year.
Jonakoski's returning as well. He was sort of tagged as that next great man from Europe, sort of taking over that mantle from Mikko Salo. He finished 9th last year. Where can he improve here in 2016?
Well, I think he can improve in some of the heavier events. This is a conversation we've had that's been similar to Björgvin Carl Gudmundsson and some of the things he needed to work on. So Janne had a couple of bad finishes last year outside of the top 20, despite taking 9th at the Games, which is a phenomenal season by any measure. But you look at his 36th place finish in this snatch speed event. That's only 8 points out of a possible 100. You can't have that and expect to be hunting for the top 5. But you know what? This year, he was 9th at regionals at the snatch event, which I think was very sneaky because he actually finished the ladder.
Yeah.
For the guy to go from 36th, struggling to get out of the first round at the Games, to finishing the snatch event at the regionals, that shows me you've worked on that, and he could be another sleeper guy this year.
The 3 remaining men there are Lucas Esslinger, Adrian Moonweiler, and Lucas Hogberg. Hogberg, the only man there with any Games experience. Out of those 3, who do you see doing the best in Carson?
I think Hogberg, and for the reasons that you just stated, this will be his 3rd trip to the Games. He was 30th in 2015, 23rd in 2014, and as we've seen with so many athletes, experience is one of your best friends. Yeah. So for the other 2, it's just about getting some experience, but my money would be on Hogberg for sure.
The previews are done. It's all over, but the crying, what they say. But hopefully there's going to be not a lot of that and a whole lot of celebrating, because up next, it's time to crown the fittest man and woman on earth. The 2016 Reebok CrossFit Games right around the corner. If you want to watch them, head to games.crossfit.com. Look up the article, How to Watch the CrossFit Games. All the information you need is going to be in that article. If you're in the United States, we will have live coverage on ESPN and ESPN2 throughout the weekend. Those times will be in that article as well. For Tommy Marquez and Annie Sakamoto, I'm Sean Woodland. We will see you at the 2016 Reebok CrossFit Games.